the brain doesn't block out bad occurrences. And, I think that maybe God allows that to teach this person and teach people around them, don't do this.
Yep.
And, dealing with things like Frankie was talking about a while ago. We had a case where a little boy was messing with a book that the mom had, and the mom was actually meditating over the book. I'll put it that way. And the child started showing symptoms of different things, started seeing other children in the house. Well, they contacted us. We went, we done the initial set up and done an investigation while we were there. We had crazy paranormal activity, if you would call it paranormal activity, but it was more like kinetic activity that was going on in the house. The child was just wide open. And I actually had the couple to take the child and sit on the couch. Well, this is like an open floor plan in their house. Well, we're there investigating, trying to get down to the bottom of things, because they've literally had their dog cage snatched across the room, and people being touched and pushed and so on, and the child having nightmares. Well, like I said, the child was running around crazy and telling us different things. Well, there's a child, there's somebody in the corner, there's a little girl in the corner, and things like that. Well, the child finally settled down and went to sleep. And when the child went to sleep, everything stopped like it was a light switch.
Oh, wow.
And we got no more K2 hits, no more EVPs, no more anything. The tension in the house dropped. The house actually kind of got comfortable to be in. The whole time the child was up running around, it was actually kind of cold. There would be things jumping from room to room to room. Well, I'm not saying that the child was possessed. Excuse me. I'm saying that this child had something attached to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I honestly think that this entity, or this thing that was attached, was using the child's energy, because the child was diagnosed ADHD.
Oh, yeah. The child was a huge battery.
Right, exactly. And as long as the child was going, they were going.
Yeah.
And, and I had one investigator, which thank God he's not with us anymore. He was kind of an investigator in training. He immediately started to call this out, and I literally had to pull him back, like, no, we're not doing that, because we could have really, really made things bad by doing that.
Yeah.
And, it could have ended up hurting the child.
Oh, yeah. And, we were there trying, and I told Teresa, I said, look, as soon as I walked in and we were doing the initial interview, and the little boy, he was just as sweet as he could be, was running around. He'd run up to me and kind of push me in the side, and then he'd back off and look at me in kind of a strange way. And then he'd do it again. And he was feeling me out. And, I could tell that he had an energy about him that he knew things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And exactly what was the energy that was on him is what was showing him things. And he literally made the comment, "You're here to help." And I just kind of looked at Teresa like, oh my God, this is, I don't know how well this is going to go. But thank God that the child is better now. They're out of the house, and they haven't had any more occurrences. We did do a cleansing and a prayer and everything before we left, and I actually became friends with the guy. He called me today, in fact, and he said things are great. So that's the outcome that us as a team, us as paranormal investigators look for.
Right.
And when you're thrusted into things, like these TV shows portray, and you got teenagers, impressionable teenagers and young kids that's running to cemeteries doing seances, and they're going on Amazon, buying them a spirit box and going out and
Oh, my
contacting
God.
something.
Or trying to use Ouija boards. Do not use Ouija boards.
None at all. And that's how these teenagers and these young kids that are so impressionable get attachments, and even ultimately after the depression and the oppression and here comes possession, at that end, that's when their lives are being destroyed. They're always gonna remember that.
Yep.
So that's our job to prevent that from happening. We, first off, we have to get the information out there. Hey, this is what you don't need to do. Okay, we've done this. We've screwed up. We know what happens. This is not a good outcome. And
demons are bad. Don't do demons. Demons are bad.
Okay.
You're right. Demons are bad. That's for sure.
Demons are bad.
I like that. Yeah, Forrest Gump. So, and that's kind of my speech. But tonight, to everybody, if you watch a TV show on TV, just look at it like this. All that is entertainment. Don't take it at heart. Don't go buy you a bunch of stuff, or even take you a recorder out to a cemetery or something, unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that a 15-year-old kid that orders a recorder off of Amazon knows what they're doing. And they're just so impressionable, and that's the reason on our investigations we don't let anybody below the age of 18. Especially anybody that's not into that age of accountability. So it's just dangerous for the person themselves. It's dangerous for us to even poly jail. It's dangerous for us to go and talk to these spirits, because you never can tell what's just passing by.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
So, but I've talked enough. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take anything away from you guys. I was just giving my opinion.
That's all right. That's all right. That's what makes good live radio.
That's right.
Absolutely. So, Nathan, have you guys got anything else coming up, or do you see anything on the horizon?
Yeah, we've got some things coming up after the first year, but unless it's truly an emergency, we'll probably not be doing much anything until after the first year, unless an emergency comes up. Usually, those involve children or some type of attachment or attack.
That's pretty much us, and we try to take the whole month of December off. Now, I think we have a couple things coming up here in November, but I don't. There's not a lot to it. It's just pretty much counseling type situations.
Yeah.
But, Frankie, how about you guys? You got anything coming up that's pending, or?
No, not right offhand. Pretty much like Nathan said, the holidays is usually we kind of slow down. We have one meeting coming up, and then we try to get our group tries to get together for one Christmas party in December, just as a team, and then we'll pick back up in January if anything comes up. But kind of like Nathan said, if it doesn't involve a child, or anything that's of a got to emergency case, we pretty well kind of stay back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think, if I have any more cases to come up over in your area, I might start sending some to you, Frankie. How about that?
That sounds pretty good to me.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry.
Not if they're like Clara and Nathan's case.
Just make sure that all the ones with the one lane dirt roads and all go to Clara and Nathan.
I don't want anything with kids rolling around in dirt, okay?
That's funny. Yeah.
No, thank you.
So
if I do, I'm going to get Clara, and she's coming with me.
Well, there you go. That would be great. Actually, if I have any more grays or anything like that, I'm gonna send them to Bob.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
I'll tell you, why don't you just send them to Larry?
Oh, just send me and Clara. Nobody can handle me and Clara together.
Yeah.
You hear me, Clara?
Yeah.
You hear me, Clara?
Say it
Me
one
and
more
Clara
time.
are forced to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
I said nobody can handle me and you together. They just need to send me and you.
That's right. That's right. We'll take care of it.
Well,
children and all.
Stan, Clara had mentioned earlier about Ouija boards. I want to tell you a little funny story about one that we got called 3 times. I worked with this Ouija board. The first time we took it to a church and gave it to a priest, and it showed back up. After it showed back up the first time, I took it and buried it by the lake with sea salt and sage, and covered it in sea salt and sage. 6 months later, the damn dirty Ouija board shows back up.
Dang, good.
So I called John. I said, John, I've got one for you. I said, I got to send you this. And John's like, okay. He said, just put it in a box and just cover it with sea salt.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I boxed it up, and I take it to the post office. And the woman at the post office, she goes, man, this thing's rattling around in here. I said, don't worry about it. It's just a rain stick. I'm sending a rain stick to a buddy of mine in Connecticut. She goes, oh, those little things that make music. Okay. I turned around there and walked out. But I had her convinced it was a rain stick.
Lied to the postman, post girl. Wow. Hey, whatever you need to do.
People are nosy.
You know one, right?
But luckily it
No,
made
not
it,
really.
and he still has it.
It made it, and it's under a glass case now in the museum.
Oh, that's cool. I actually have an artifact I need to do the same thing with. It's a rite of exorcism book.
Yep. I know where you got that one too.
Right.
I remember you calling me and asking me about it.
That's right. That case. I feel like the case is pretty much done with, and since we removed that, they quit. I mean, they still have little bings and bangs every now and then, but the biggest majority of the negativeness and stuff is gone. So I
they
feel
buy
like
antiques all the time. What do you expect?
Right. And whenever they told me what they had, and I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me!" I said, "Do you guys know how they use those?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, kinda." And then I went into explaining how they use, and their eyes got about as big as 50-cent pieces, and their mouth hung open. I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "We probably need to remove that," and we did. and things got better, and then a hurricane come and messed up their house. But
oh wow,
yeah. Well, I mean, it just knocked holes in their roof, and now, y'all, this house is gorgeous. It's 2 stories tall. It is just an antique person's dream house. Okay. It has hidden closets and hidden doors and that type of thing. The only issue with the house was it has a history of suicide in the same room, same method, about 60 years later.
Oh wow.
The only difference in the 2 suicides, one was a man, one was a woman, and they were on opposite sides of the room, but the same method.
Oh
And,
wow.
for the same reason. both people felt like nobody wanted them. And that room was